So what's going on, Laura?
Well, I'm back.
I know. Nice
to talk to you.
Nice to have you back.
On one of our favorite topics.
Let me guess, marital discord.
Yes. Not to reflect on either one of our marriages, of course.
No, of course not. My wife still keeps taking the medication and the alcohol. She thinks I'm young, skinny, good looking, and funny.
And you are. You are, my friend.
You keep drinking,
You
doll.
are.
You keep drinking. Well, I love you girls. You're deluded, and I love that about you.
Good. So I do have a few questions for you, as always.
Shoot.
So
I'll make up a few answers, as always.
Okay. So the first one that sort of comes to mind is how do you figure out how much somebody makes when it comes to child support, spousal support, when your ex-spouse actually has their own business and controls their own income?
So,
Yes.
when someone is a garden variety T4 salaried employee, it's easy. You basically look at their tax return, and if it is child support, you take line 150, that's the number you use. It drives what's called a table amount. It's simple. Very different when someone is self-employed, and to a great extent, they have an ability to determine their own income.
Right.
And there's a great distinction between what the Canada Revenue Agency, let's all pause for a moment, we hate the Canada Revenue Agency, what the Canada Revenue Agency will allow is a deduction for business purposes, and what a court will consider to be a non-allowable deduction for the purposes of calculating support. So for example, if you run your own business, you're allowed to write off a portion of a car. You're allowed to write off some travel, some client promotional entertainment expenses, like this dinner tonight, for example. You know, CRA, don't watch, this will be a client promotional expense. So, those things are deductible. Okay. On the other hand, for child or spousal support purposes, a court would add back in a lot of those things. A court would add back in notional depreciation on capital assets, like equipment, fixtures, furnishings, vehicle, all those things you could write off for business purposes.
Right.
That's nice. Court would add all that stuff back in. So the way you figure it out is, in a perfect world, and we know the world's not perfect, that's why we have divorce lawyers. In a perfect world, the payor would fully disclose what they really make, their true gross. They would show all of their deductions. They would show exactly what those deductions are for, not the tax purpose or the business purpose, but really what they're for. And it would be fairly easy to determine that amount. But that's not always the case.
Right, I was going to say.
A lot of payors don't want to pay as much as they should.
And I was going to say, don't people lie also?
Gee, you think that happens?
I do.
Surprise.
I really do.
Lie to their tax lawyer, lie to the accountant, lie to their government, lie to their spouse. Yes, they do that.
Right.
So, the way that you do it is you get full and complete disclosure. First, you ask.
Right.
And an experienced family law lawyer has a pretty good idea what to ask for. I like to ask for the last 3 years of, obviously, tax returns, the full detailed tax returns showing all the deductions, the financial statements, which will have a lot more detail. But I also want to see the original books of entry. I want to see the ledgers. I want to see the bank accounts. I want to see the credit card statements.
Right.
I want to see when they say travel and accommodation, I want to know if they're staying at the Motel 6 in Pembroke where they actually went for work, or if they happen to be at the W Hotel in Miami Beach where they took their girlfriend. Those things I want to see. I want to see the frequent flyer statements. I want to see all the places they've been going. I want to see all that stuff.
Now, I just have to ask, do
please.
people always comply? Or
well, they don't like to comply. You get court orders.
I was going to say.
You ask once. If you don't ask, you get a court order. I mean, I was in court this week on a matter where someone didn't want to make full disclosure about income that they were earning. Guy happens to be working as a bookie. You know, betting on the horses and stuff.
Okay.
Didn't want to declare.
No.
Cash money, blah, blah, blah. But I could see entries going in and out of the bank statements.
Right.
Similar entries showing up all the time. So I started asking the questions about, what's this stuff? He and his lawyers say, don't answer the question. So we go see the judge. The judge says, you got to answer the question. They get to know where this money's coming from. They get to figure out your whole income. So you get people that, you know, in this particular instance, this person's deposing that they only earn, at the end of the day, a couple $1,000s a year. By the time we were done poking away at the income, they were suddenly prepared to concede that they made at least $100,000 a year and fix support accordingly.
I was going to say, how many times do you see people that they live in gorgeous furnished condos, they drive expensive cars, but they supposedly only make $50,000 a year, right?
Brilliant accounts. I got to get them to do my taxes. I really do. So you go at the essential disclosure. You make sure you get full access to all the books, all the records, all the documents of origin. And if you don't get them cooperatively, you get court orders to force it.
Okay. Excellent.
And then there are folks out there that are experts in doing income analysis. They're very qualified accountants and accounting firms that do forensic investigation that can make a very, very good determination of what that income's all about. So it's important to find that out because that's how the child support and the spousal support should really be based. Not on what they tell you it is, not on what they tell the government it is, because they can write off a lot more things than the court will allow them to, but what they're really earning. Because remember, your average individual who works for a corporation and gets a T4 doesn't get to write off an office at home, doesn't get to write off their car, doesn't get to write off travel, meals, and entertainment, doesn't get to write off depreciation. So a court's going to add all that stuff back in and bring their income level up significantly higher. And then you get the people that work for cash. Cash in the pocket, never goes in the bank account, literally keep it in the mattress, keep it in the box. I've found folks who have a safe in the basement with hundreds of thousands of dollars. Then you start doing a lifestyle analysis. Again, same thing, as you've alluded to. How do you live? Oh, nice outfit. You're wearing Gucci and Louis Vuitton.
How do you drive that Ferrari?
You're living in a $2 million condo. You're tooling around in a foreign sports car. You're wearing fancy jewelry. You're taking all these trips. But you say that you're only making 40 grand a year? Tell me, this is creative. How do you do this? So you do a reverse lifestyle analysis.
It's very smart. Be the only way to get to the bottom of what's really going on.
And it's important to do. Very, very important, because with the exception of 2 people over the last 35 years, most times payors don't want to pay the full amount they should pay, particularly when it comes to spousal support. A lot of payors are reluctant to pay child support, but at the end of the day, it's their kids. Most payors, given that they're separated, don't have a lot of love lost for their former spouse, and, quelle surprise, don't want to pay for him or her.
No, I know.
So there will be a great reluctance to A, pay at all, and B, fess up what they're really making.
For sure.
And sometimes you have to be persistent. You have to be like, forgive the bad pun, like a tax collector. You have to be persistent.
Okay.
So there you go.
Thank you for that one. That was a good one.
And then the courts have a concept called income attribution, where when you do that analysis, even if the person doesn't declare, the court will say, based on all of these things, I'm going to impute income to you. I'm going to assume that you make this kind of money. Same thing can happen when someone says, oh yeah, you want to make me support? I'm going to quit my job. There, I've solved the problem. No, no, no. The court will impute the same income to you and say, we deem that you make the same income. We're going to order you to pay support accordingly. We'll enforce that order against you. Now we'll start seizing your assets, selling things off. You're going to pay anyway. So you may as well get your ass back to work, because you're going to pay the same amount of support anyway. Well, that's how it works.
Excellent. So,
what did Cole Porter say? You better keep her, you'll think it's cheaper. Anyway.